Hello, welcome to the Conquering Hill podcast. This is Nicholas Gagnier, and I'm with a special guest, Ben Robbins. Ben Robbins is a 45-year-old man. He's a successful entrepreneur who currently has an excavation company called Rex. It's his second company. His first company, he started from scratch at the age of 22. In the year 2012, he found himself in some problems with his own demons and addictions, and he burnt the company down to the ground by 2014. He had to get sober and stop drinking and using drugs in order to also see his daughter again and have her back in his life. He now started another company, another excavation company in the year 2020, and he's been very successful with it. He's based out of New Hampshire. Thank you so much for coming on today, Ben. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm very good. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Well, Ben, bring it back to the point when you first opened up your first excavation company at the young age of 22, which is an accomplishment in itself. Um, Tell the audience how that started and how it quickly kind of derailed.
Mm. So it started with uh, someone approaching me and asking what I wanted to do. And this I was 22 at the time, 21, 22 years old, and I really hadn't had an idea. I had just moved back from Florida. I spent 5 years down in South Florida, and so I was all across the map with doing all kinds of different jobs. From running a jet ski rental shop in Hollywood, Florida, to installing bathrooms, mirrors, to work in construction. Um, it was across the board. And so I came back from Florida and settled in New Hampshire. And I started working for some guys around here, and quickly um, everybody took notice and was always asking, "Who's this kid? Who is he? We want him. Let's get him." And I started doing side work and started doing little jobs for people. And I was approached by a local guy that asked me, "What do you want to do?" And at the time, I didn't know. Right, I didn't know. Um, and so he said, "Well, why don't you think about it and come back to me with a plan?" And so I said, okay. And, at the time I had a ponytail, right? Uh, I wore wife beaters. I was in flip flops, right? I'm 22 years old. I had a wicked chip on my shoulder, right? And this guy's coming up to me and asking me, where do you see yourself? And I hadn't gotten into the drugs yet, and I hadn't started drinking yet. I was still clean at that point. Um, and so I went back to him with a plan, with a piece of paper that, like, on the back of a napkin that I drew up, right? And that was my business plan, and it was to go into business. And so he kind of chiseled that down a little bit for me and gave me some focus, and signed a loan for me. Just this random guy that
Wow.
I that I didn't grow up with, that I didn't really know. I was nice to his wife. Like, his dog had passed away, and I delivered. I was working at a flower shop. I delivered the flowers, and I was nice to his wife. His wife never forgot me, and so that's how he met me. And he was returning the favor with signing a loan for me. So now I'm 22 years old, and he signed a loan for 130 something thousand bucks, and I bought a backhoe, case backhoe. I bought a Mack dump truck. I bought a trailer, and I went into business. And it wasn't that Saturday that I had the equipment that I got a call from the local water district, the Rye Water District, and and the guy's name was Mr. Aspen, and he called me with a water main break at Saturday at 4 in the morning and wanted to know if I had my stuff, and I said yes, and he gave me the job, and I had them for solid 9 years after that into business, doing emergency water main breaks, water services, and that's really how it started. Um, and from that point, it just took off. I wasn't prepared. I had no idea. I I got hooked up with the local builders in the area, and they continued to feed me work. I was a pit bull. I was just obsessed. I was obsessed. I really didn't have talent because I didn't have the experience, but I was obsessed, and nothing was going to stop me at that point. I was focused, and I latched on to the biggest builders in the area, and I started doing site work for these custom homes, 5, 10 million dollar homes up and down the seacoast and Rye. I was the guy. I was the guy for sure around here. Everybody wanted to know what I could do for them. Get Benny, get Benny. And so it was like that for many years. And I started hiring people. I got a shop on Route 1. Um, and with that fame, right, being the local guy, came a massive chip on my shoulder. Um, and came money, for one,
Hmm.
and allowed me to become this bigger than life character. I fed off it. It fueled me. Wherever I went, I was known. I did whatever I want. If and with that fame came, because of my temper and my just fire for life, came trouble. But because of who I was, I never really got in trouble.
Hmm.
I had
Kind
this.
of like a sense of invincibility that sometimes we all get and we all go through,
Mm,
especially when money comes our way. With money comes power, and
yeah,
we think we're invincible, whether it's the police or it's talking smack with someone at the bar, whatever it is.
and it was all of that. It was all of that for sure. Um, and it was a sense of invincibility. And no matter what happened, I came out the other end smelling like a rose. And it made me feel like I was Moses, man. I could walk on water.
Mm,
I couldn't be touched. And from that came drugs and alcohol. Came the drugs and alcohol, and that was early on, man. I mean, I was 24, 25, I think, and well, I was drinking every night. But it wasn't a social drink,
mm,
right? It was after work, um, and it was shots immediately the minute I walked in. And if anybody was there, they were getting drunk with me, and I was paying. So it started off as like, wow, Benny's fun. This is all. Benny's here. Benny's here. You stay. You guys are gonna want to stay for this, right?
right.
That's how it started.
Hmm.
Everybody wanted to be part of it, and that went on for a few years like that. And then I got into the coke, and
And prior to that, you had never touched cocaine in your life.
no, I had done it in Florida, um, but it was like an every once in a while type thing, and it
Hmm.
didn't it didn't affect anything in my life
Hmm.
personally,
Hmm.
financially. There was no. Uh, there wasn't any downfall from it.
Mhm. Because let's be honest, right? We all go through life, especially around that age. We all experiment with certain drugs along the way, right? It's almost like not a rite of passage, but especially the youth, right? You go through college and there's certain drugs around, whether you're smoking marijuana, you're doing blowing lines of coke, you're drinking, trying mushrooms. You're at that age where you kind of want to experiment and kind of see how far you can take it almost, because I've been there too, trying everything underneath the sun. But now the way drugs are and everything is cut a certain way with this fentanyl crap, like just stay the hell away from everything because you don't even know what's coming your way. And it could be, you know, you're here and you're gone just like that. And so years ago, personally speaking, I'm like, only thing I'm gonna do is anything natural, whether it's mushrooms or smoking marijuana, and even smoking marijuana now, like I haven't blazed in over, I don't know, 6 or 7 months, So here in Panama, I don't usually do it. I have, but it's not a need for it, But as far as starting chewing lines of coke, or even you want to get into heroin, which I've never touched, thankfully. I've never stuck a needle in my body to get high, thankfully. That's like way beyond the pale of anything I would even consider, because it's not fucking worth it to me. But as a young person in the 20s, I can imagine you tried cocaine in Florida, right? I mean, for the most part, if you're around that age and you're partying, I would say the majority of people have experimented with something else other than alcohol.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that. But you said heroin, you said some other stuff. All of that shit was in my system. Acid, all of it.
Hmm.
It's all crack, smoke fucking crack. You know what I mean? Like all of that has entered my body at one point. Um, Heroin was snorted. I never did the needles.
Hmm.
Not that I'm trying to make an excuse for it, but I only say that because you had said that. But it's wild, man. Like I never thought that I would get to where I had gotten. I was able to work. I was able to get up. I was able to party all night, and then I'd answer my phone and I'd go to work, or I would meet people, and there was a clear switch at some point in my life that it just went from you know crazy Benny, he's cool, he does whatever, to dude, it's not funny anymore. When are you going to grow up? Right? When that's
Hmm.
and it went from wanting to do it with everybody else to beating feet and getting home and doing this shit in my garage by myself. It consumed me. It just consumed me, and I couldn't shake it, man. I couldn't shake it, and I knew what I was doing was wrong, and I couldn't get off it. Right? I couldn't get off it. It made me feel better once I would come down. It it would make me feel better if I got some and just did a line, and then I would be like, okay, I feel a little better. But then I would abuse it and I would do too much. And then I wouldn't stop, and then I would want it more, and then before I know it, it was dark out, and before I know it, the sun was coming up. It's just it was this groundhog day. It was for years, for years. I would say like for probably 6 or 7 years, it was heavy and steady. It was crazy. And in that portion, I had my daughter, right? I had a little baby girl, and she was living at the house with my girlfriend. And so they saw this, and Summer didn't know what was going on, but my girlfriend saw me go from like 0 to 100 and back down again. She rode it all. She rode through it all, and came to a point where she was just like, "I'm out, dude. Like this is it, right? This is it." And that was in that was in 2014 when she beat feet. Just prior to that, I had had a heart attack. I had had a
Oh,
heart
damn.
attack in 2013, September of 13, and I spent like 70 days in Brigham and Women Hospital. I had a massive infection in and around my heart. My lungs were full of fluid. They picked me up off a water main break. I dropped on the ground, and when they picked me up, my blood pressure was 50 over 30. I mean, I was just
Mhm.
borderline gone, right? And so then everybody
Was that your rock bottom right there? Was that point where you're like, "I gotta change how I'm living? What am I doing? What am I putting in my body?" Was that it? Or was did you still go down further down that hole?
You would have thought so. you would, anybody that has a fucking clue would have thought so. Like, here you go, dude, 50 over 30. You're knocking on heaven's door. Smarten up. No, they cleared me in April of the following year of any scarring, anything on my heart, and within a month or two, I think I was back on it, back drinking, back doing blowing lines, thinking that a lot of it was private, right? I was thinking that a lot of people didn't know, and my core group of, I won't even say friends, the core group of people that I was doing it with, which was a handful, maybe two or three, right? That I would buy from, that they knew I was buying, because I had a successful business, man. I had, you know what I'm saying? I had a lot going on. I had a shit ton to lose. I didn't
Yeah.
care. I didn't care. The drugs. I didn't realize that I didn't care. I didn't know I didn't care. You know what I mean? It wasn't.
Mhm.
It wasn't like you're gonna lose everything. I never thought like that.
Did it go back to that sense of invisibility, right? Especially you just made it out alive and you still got your business. Oh man,
You
I can
can't
look at it, I'm
take me
still going strong. I can still, continue it a little bit more. I mean, why
Can't
not,
stop
right?
me.
If I'm making all this money, it's hard to stop. It's hard to
Can't.
stop. Like especially if you look death in the eye and you continue, right? If that's not your rock bottom and you just came out of it alive and you're feeling like you got another round at it, like
God
there
can't
is
take me.
that sense of invincibility, right?
Yeah, yeah. God can't take me. Right?
Mm,
God can't take me. That was the wrong thought. And so that was the point where it should have stopped and it didn't. I could have saved everything then had it not gone. I could have saved, um, losing Summer. I could have saved losing my girlfriend at the time. I could have I could have saved the business. The business, that would have been easy to save. It just came to me. The work just came. It was like I couldn't I couldn't screw up and turn it away. So I could have saved it, but I didn't. And it was a year later. No, so that's February 14th. Um, it was a year later that my girlfriend, it was it. I had closed the business. That's what happened.
mhm,
2014 was the end of SLX. And
yeah,
it slowly started to, the guys started to leave, go to different places to work. And it was getting back to me that a lot of things were being said about me. You know, at that point, I knew that everybody knew, and I couldn't
mm,
hide it. And it was just like it was an embarrassing feeling. I remember feeling embarrassed and trying to put on a face of that. I'm working through this. You know, but my business just dwindled until it was all gone. And and I and um in the end of 14, I shut the doors,
mm,
and that was a dark time, man. That was um that was in the winter. um I was in the house alone, and I remember contemplating, taking my life, suicide. I remember picturing me having a gun, and I pictured everything. I pictured the gunshot. I pictured, all of that. But then um, I would also picture like how Summer would feel, you
Mm.
know. So I always had. I'll probably cry a few times in this interview type thing, this thing that we got going on, just when I especially talk about her. Um, so
Yeah,
I
she
would.
was your why. I mean, we all have our whys, and the power of having a little daughter. For myself as well. Like that love that you have for your daughter, um, especially being your first daughter, being my first daughter. I mean, you can't. It doesn't compare, right? You just want everything to always be okay for them, and from your perspective of putting yourself in harm's way or a self-inflicted wound, right? You could thinking about that. You would never want to see or the face. How would your daughter feel, or how would she, the reaction that would just break you. And I'm assuming that's exactly how you chose not to do that, is by thinking of, I can't do this to my daughter.
Yeah, that's what was in my head, but I wasn't thinking that. They were these undiscovered thoughts. It hadn't been clear to me yet. And I didn't do it because it was this something was stopping me, There was a bigger picture, a bigger plan. Um, I'm stronger than that, you know what I mean?
Mm,
But I wasn't thinking that. I wasn't like, I'm stronger than this shit. I'm gonna beat this. I'm gonna find out what's going on and I'm gonna handle it. And I'm gonna be a good dad. And there was none of that. It just wasn't I just wasn't going through with it. And it was just in the motion. I felt and went through everything painfully. I felt all of my sobriety. I felt all of the failures and the losses, and I lived it real time as I was going through it. It didn't stop me, but it was awakening. It humbled me big time. But again, I didn't know I was being humbled when this was going
mm,
on. I only can look back and go, "Oh shit, that's probably what I was feeling. Oh, that's what I was going through." At the time, it
mhm,
was just, all right. Let's do some AA.
mhm.
Let's
That was the first thing that kinda got to your head, that was the first step towards recovery right there, is like, I need a I need to start going to AA. That was the first initial thought, like, how can I just get my shit together? Because now you just said you just closed your business, your girlfriend left you, you still have your daughter in your life at the time, and, what you must be thinking, "What the hell am I gonna do right now? What
Oh
am I
yeah,
gonna do in my life? How do I turn it around?"
oh yeah,
Because sometimes that first step of turning something around, going in the opposite direction, is the most difficult step to take, because obviously you just came to that realization. And once you come to that realization, there is a fucking problem here, and I have to address this problem. And then you could start working towards a solution, because that solution, your first step towards going to AA, or even that thought process, that was a big jump for yourself, I'm sure, because admitting you are an addict, or you're an addicted to something, that is a humbling experience, because then you're being honest with yourself. And when you are high on drugs and you have addictions, you're not always being honest with yourself, because you are just constantly thinking about the next time you're getting high, or what we doing later, where do I have enough money to buy some more, or who knows, right?
yeah. Well, that's a great story, and that's how you think it would have went again, um, but but it didn't. Um, so in the interim of closing the business and getting sober, was a 2-year separation. I closed the business. I got a job in early in that 2015. I started working for another excavation outfit as an employee. First time ever I'm working for somebody else. But I took pride in it because I was the lead. They brought me on to build their excavation part of the company. They didn't have it before me. So I came in as an paid employee, hourly, with big difference than what I was used to. But it didn't stop me. You know, the potential, the promise was there of some other stuff. So I hit the ground running. I built the business. We hired. We bought some equipment. It wasn't any of my money because I didn't have any. They gave me a truck. They gave me a phone. They gave me some other stuff, and I was being successful working for them. Except I didn't take any shit from them. I was still in my mind on my own, and it became a problem for the owners. And the day I got fired was the last day I drank, and um, that was the day that my girlfriend of the time left. That all that happened on a day. So you have these moments of, okay, I'm gonna get better, and then I got a job, and then my girlfriend got back. We got back together. Summer, she was living in her own condo. I was in my house, uh, but we were together, and that's what I wanted. So I stopped doing cocaine. I stopped doing cocaine in January of 2015, and I thought that was my problem. But throughout that summer, I drank and drank more and more, and it came to a point where, you know, she was remembering. I was starting to do some things that she remembered, and she was totally uncomfortable the whole time we were together. She just wanted something different for her daughter, and she wanted something different for her. And um, on the day that I got fired, I called her, and she lost it. And she she said, you know, you got to go to your, you got to get help. You got to get help. So that was um, 2016.
Yeah, as you show the tats to me. Yeah, that's, I'm sure you look at those every day, don't you?
I do look at those every day. There's a lot of memories. Like I remember the all every like I was saying, I lived it. So I
Mhm.
remember, you know, what I was wearing. I remember the conversations that took place. I remember what was said. Right, and so that day I called my counselor, and she had been with me for the last 20 years. Every time I would get, you know, hit with, I'd get in a fight, or I'd get in this, I get in that, I'd have to go to counseling and 6 months and sign the paper and be good. But she was really, she was impactful in my life. So I turned to her the minute I needed it. Right. And um, when I went in there, I was in crisis mode. So this happened on February 10th, February 14th, Valentine's Day. She was seeing me in an emergency session. That first day was February 14th that I got to get in front of her. And
Mm.
that is who told me, you know, um, there's this thing called neurofeedback. You should check it out. It's not covered by insurance, but I think it's they've progressed uh, medically with it, and I think they're ready. And why don't you check it out? Here's a number, and and uh, and give them a ring. So that's what I did, and you know, I don't know if it worked, but I fell in love with it, and so I enjoyed it, and it was giving me something positive to look forward to. It was a it you know they measure the frequency of your brain waves. So you come in there and they'll do an initial assessment. They'll put some shit all over your head and they'll start to dial it in. It's all by computers, and they look at the colors in the frontal lobe, in the rear. There's colors associated with um, uh, uh, depression. There's colors associated with drug addiction, alcoholism, anxiety. All of these things show up on this map, this brain map. And my entire brain was red. It was on fire. There was supposed to be blues. It was supposed to be cool when you slept. Your brain was supposed to go to sleep when you're resting, it was supposed to fluctuate. It didn't. It was this I literally it looked like it was on fire. So this is the first thing that I saw. And she was like, "Good Lord. No wonder you, no wonder you got some problems." You know what I mean? Like, this is not right, dude. What did you do to yourself? Right? So it was the drugs and alcohol, but then it was my mind that was associated with doing that really just fucked me up, man. And I stayed consistent with that for almost a year and a half, 2 years. And I still remember the day. It was probably 3 months into it. So you got to think, like, I'm a results driven guy. I want to see shit today.
Right.
I want
Right.
to build something, and I want to see it, and I want to look at it, and I want to see if I need to change something. I need that visual satisfaction. This wasn't that. You have to give this time. You have to work at it. You have to tweak it a little, adjust it, come back, do a little more. How are you feeling? Are you sleeping better? Have you had any explosions? Have you? And the whole time I'm going, oh, fuck. I can feel my throat closing up right now just thinking about just because I wanted to be better.
Hmm.
At this time, I had a daughter that wasn't even seeing me. We had been to court. She got a restraining order, and she got it for the fact that she was in fear for her and Summer. She was in fear that I was gonna do something. And I remember being in court, and she had she had these voicemails that I had left her, and played them for the judge, and they were like, "If there's another guy, I'll fucking hang him in my garage. I'll drink the blood from his feet. Like, I'll eat his mother." Right? This is the shit that's coming out of my mouth. You know what I mean? Just like full of rage and not really thinking clearly at all. Um, and the judge was like, "Mr. Robbins, dude, like, I could commit you for this. You could be committed. You could have a clear anger issue, most definitely. Maybe there's something more, but I do think your how did she put it? She was basically saying there's more to this story. There's more to this story, and it's you. You've got there's something about you, and I'm not going to keep your daughter from you. However, thank God she wrote this. Um, it's to be decided by family court. Visitation will be decided by family court. So I advise you to continue to do, because I at that time I had been doing the feedback. I had been going to AA. I'd been doing all this shit right immediately. Like, I was in crisis. I was doing whatever I could, because at the time all I wanted was my girls back. And at the time it wasn't sincere, although I felt it was. right? It hadn't clicked that I was doing it for me.
And were you employed at the time?
I had been fired, and I didn't get a job for a couple months. I actually moved back home. I was living in my mother's and my father's other room in the back. Dude, I'm 38 years old. Like, what am I doing? So I had committed to get sober, but they were still for the wrong reasons. They were for her. They were for my daughter. Well, I'll show you. It hadn't sunk in yet, and it took a while for that to happen. And I still remember the day that I realized that the neurofeedback was working. I was in a road rage incident, and I was driving down the highway. And at this point, 3 months in, had got another job. I was building ball fields for an outfit. I was living in New Hampshire, but I was working down in Mass. We were making union rate, but we weren't union, so I was making all the money, and we were getting paid union rate. And I was driving in the highway in the morning, and for the last month or two, I had literally switched everything. Everything that I did was no longer what I used to do. I was driving 10 and 2. I'd wear my freaking seatbelt. I'd whistle. I'm looking at the sunsets. I'm listening to the birds. I wouldn't even listen to the radio. I didn't want to put, right? I'd go to Barnes and Nobles. I was getting self-help CDs. Half the time I wouldn't even hear what they were saying, but it was a soothing voice. It was just enough calm in my life at the time that I needed. I needed it because I was still on like an explosive run, and at any point, right, until this road rage thing. And I'm driving down the highway, and the guy cut me off, and I swerved, and then he like pulled next to me, and I was like, sorry, like this. I was like, sorry. And I just kind of went back and went to work. Prior to this, I would have stopped traffic right in the middle of the highway. Cops, the whole nine. I know, that's just the way it would have ended up. But I went to work, and I'm working, and later on in the afternoon, we're laying pipe, and I'm in the excavator, and I put the bucket down, and I start crying. I started crying, and the guys are like in the trench, and they're like giving me the signal for stone. They're not looking at me, and they turn around because I'm crying, and they're looking at me, and they're like, "Are you crying, dude?" You know what I mean? Like these construction workers, tank tops, beers after work. Not me, but these are the dudes, right? Are you crying? And I was, dude. I was crying. And I told them the story, and they were like, "Cool story. Give me some stone." You know what I mean? Give me some rock
Here's a
stuff.
tissue. Let's go. We got
Yeah,
work to do.
yeah. So I did them, but it was then that it clicked, and I couldn't wait after that to get back to it. I was like, I want more of it. I love this. I love that feeling. I love the feeling that I was able to avoid. Right? I couldn't get enough of that, so I went back, and I told the lady, and I was just. She's like, so great, this is awesome. Seeing improvement. How are you sleeping? I was sleeping. And then I got involved with Safe Harbor Recovery in Portsmouth. And I started doing, I emceed events, and I was doing, I'd put on comedy shows for all the people from the sober place. And I'd get up
Yeah, I
on,
remember seeing that on Facebook. Yeah.
yeah, I'd get up on stage. Hey, everybody, autographs later, right? I was good at it. Had put on the thing, donated all the money. It was just that was a good time in my life there, and the whole time I was getting sober, and the whole time I wasn't seeing Summer. I didn't see her for 6 months, So all of this that I just talked about took place in those 6 months. When we finally went to court, and this is the way it went forever. It was just family courts. Family court's crazy. When the guardian ad litem, who was associated with our case, and got my girlfriend and I, and he went to see her, and then he came to my house. And these people want to watch me play with. This is a hard thing for me to get over. They wanted to watch me play with my daughter. They wanted to. I was in counseling. They wanted to. The first time I went to the counselor, she's you guys just sit on the floor. I'm not even here. And it was like, don't fucking tell me how to raise my daughter. I'm a grown man. But was I? No. Was I a good dad? No. I was terrible at it. I always thought I would be the coolest fucking father. Always. And I was the worst. I didn't know how to talk to my daughter. I didn't know how to listen to my daughter. I had to be shown and taught the most basic parental skills needed to raise a productive human. Right? Compassion, listening, all of that had to be learned. But I listened. And I put all of the stuff that I was learning into play.
It's incredible.
And Summer blossomed because of that. She really thrived through all of that. We learned how to communicate. We learned how to talk. I learned how to listen. We would get together so we went to court the first time. They gave me 2 hours, one Saturday a month, to spend with my daughter. 2
That's
hours at
2
my house.
hours.
And I couldn't drive. I couldn't leave. I had to stay at my house. It was unsupervised, but it was 2 hours. The first time that she came to my house, after not seeing her for 6 months, her grandfather brought her. And he pulled in the driveway, and he's funny. He's notorious for, he'll pull in somewhere and he'll beep, no matter where he is. Beep beep, So it made me giggle because I knew he was here, and I came out, and I had got everything ready. Like I went, I didn't have any money, so I went to like a yard sale. I remember being in a yard sale in Portsmouth, and I got all of this like fake jewelry for like 50 cents or 75 cents. I bought a bike that was too big for her, but it was like $3, right? And everything was beat up, but it was like I had it all laid out. I had her old toys laid out. I used to have Power Wheels and stuff for her that I would put more batteries in to make them faster, to do I had them all backed in, lined up, ready for her. And BB pulls in, and I hear her screaming. And I can't tell if it's tears. Like, I don't know. I haven't seen this. She was 5. And she's screaming. And the truck door flew open. And she screamed, "Fucking Dad," at the top of her lungs. And ran over. And it was like we never skipped a beat, Those 2 hours were so incredible. And that was something that I learned from the counselor. The time that she spends with you you need to look at it from her standpoint. She can't wait for you to get back. She doesn't think, "Oh, I only get 2." She's 5, dude. She doesn't think, "Oh, I only get 2 hours with my dad." That's the adult that thinks like that taints our mind. That's the adult that causes all the fucking drama. You wanna ask a kid how to make things better? How do we make things better? Shit, they're gonna say some shit like, let's make pancakes. Oh, that's gonna make things better? Yeah. No, we throw all the bullshit. We get inside of our head and we cause so much more trouble. So here's this little girl dreaming of the next time she gets to spend 2 hours with me. And I'm going, all I got is fucking 2 hours a month. This is bullshit.
Mm.
That lasted for like, uh, Jesus, 7, 8 months, one Saturday a month. And in the end, and there was always this little bullshit going on too. I mean, my girlfriend, the girlfriend of the time, my daughter's mother, we're great now. But rewind, and there was all this bullshit going on. Like I couldn't drive her, but I wanted to take her somewhere. So I had my sister bring us to the bus station. We took a bus to Boston and we went on this boat ride and she had the best time. I documented everything. I took pictures and even the guy in Lightem was like, he had a great day with his daughter. But there's the rules, right? You got to abide by the rules. So there was all this like positivity, but I was constantly getting hit with these setbacks. You did good, but you shouldn't have. Right? You're doing great, but there's a reason we have rules. So it wasn't easy, but I was just going through it. And every time I went back to court, it was the same shit, but it was good because the judge or judges, we had multiple over the 5 years that I was in family court, always seemed to enjoy dialogue with me. They'd
They
want to
could tell
talk.
you were a true person, right? They could tell you were speaking from the heart, and legally maybe they had to play it safe with all these rules and regulations, but they knew what you truly wanted, and you can sense that in certain people, or you can feel their energy, you can feel their vibe, and when someone is adamant and and truthful, you can feel that. That's easy to feel, if you speak with someone. And I'm sure that's why one of the reasons why they enjoyed seeing you and watching you progress, but at the same time they have to protect their ass.
They did enjoy it. They did. My attorney, who is now a judge, still speaks of this case. He uses me as an example in the courtroom. It was a 5-year run that we went through. I went to jail a couple times for bullshit, but I went to jail. One of the times I went to jail, I did almost 45 days because Summer was running in a road race in front of my house, and I walked and cheered her on. And her mother was the chaperone for her and her little girlfriends. So I was within that 300-foot run. And there was a lot of hatred here. I don't want to give the wrong impression of my daughter's mother. I put a lot of damage, stress in her life. She had good reason to do everything she did. Luckily, I'm a fucking pit bull and I made it through. But what she did was not wrong. It wasn't. So to everyone listening, she did everything right. She handled me the right way. I was so extreme in all avenues of my life. You had to take it to the top. You needed judges, you needed court, you needed police, you needed jail. It's the only way I would have listened. And she did it. At her expense. It hurt her to go through it. She didn't say that. But now that things have gone in the better direction, She's told me that it was the hardest decision of her life. So here we are. We're getting more time. I'm not drinking. I'm not doing drugs. Things are getting better. I start working out. I'm doing kickboxing, um, running. I'm doing comedy shows. I'm in front of people. Again, I'm the limelight, right? I'm the one that is. Wow, look at him. Look at look how well he's doing. I thrive off it, but I had to be careful when I started doing videos. Not like chronicling my journey, but just, every once in a while shit would go good and I'd post it. And it dawned on me and I was like, you know what? What this is me talking to myself. There's people that are doing what you're doing and not having the same result. So you have to let them know that it's okay. You have bad days too. You have days that you want to pull the shades, that you don't want to get off the couch. And that's fine. That's okay. You still have temper problems. You still fly off the handle. But it's less and less and less. And when you want to pull the shades and stay on the couch, you don't live there. You do it for a day or two or three, whatever. But I knew that I wasn't going to stay there. I was just refreshing, and that was okay. So I made sure I would make some posts on bad days, right? So I was thinking about everybody and how I was having an effect on everyone. Because I'd get messages all night. I talk at 2 in the morning. It was exhausting. I want to stop drinking. I want to stop doing drugs.
What
Well,
is your advice for someone who wants to stop drinking or doing drugs? What is the single most important thing you want to convey to them or anyone who's listening right now who's struggling with addiction?
you got to want it. Me, my story, your counselor, your fucking mother, your wife, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever the fuck it is. Not going to do nothing unless you want it. They'll turn blue in the face. You have to get to the point where it switches in your head. Our brain's powerful. Our brain is so powerful. It's got the power. Everybody's got it in them. Some just don't know how to get it. But we all have what it takes to beat whatever is going on in our life. We all have it, but some just don't know how to get it. And, you know, um, I can only say what I did. I can, I, I'll never say you should do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. I can only say what worked for me. And I didn't know what worked for me. I had to try a bunch of shit. All of it was working. Some things I just didn't take to. I tried running. I don't want to fucking run. You know, this is stupid. I got to find something else. I'm gonna go to the gym.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go to the gym. I don't want to run. Run is boring, right? But I tried it, and it was helpful. And it was just from one thing to the next, from one thing to the next. You gotta just keep trying stuff. You can't give up, and you gotta want it.
Mm.
That's the biggest thing right there. Addiction is silent, man.
Because
It's a
it's just you and your own thoughts, right? It's
that's right.
just at all times, it's just like it's you and your own thoughts. And unless you can flush those out with either positive thoughts or positive activities, exercise, trying to keep your mind in the right space and not allowing yourself to kind of drift back to that, either negative force or addiction. I mean, it's a battle every single day. It's a battle, with you and yourself. You wake up in the morning, you look at the mirror, it's you versus you
Mm.
every single day. And do you still feel like sometimes you have that battle when you look in the mirror, or do you feel like I've accomplished this, I'm doing fucking great, I'm unstoppable right now, and I'm going to inspire others to do it? Do you ever feel like if I did that, I know exactly how I would feel and I would fuck everything up. So I'm not going to do that.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I've moved on. That was a chapter in my life, and it's over. I'm on a new page. I I I very rarely think about um, drugs and alcohol. Very rarely. If it comes up with conversation, and I can talk about it. If it's around me, I can be around it. Um, through sobriety, everything great has come to me. So I don't want
Mm,
to throw that away.
of course
I'm,
not.
I met, I've met my current girlfriend who she was my dream girl in high school. I didn't talk to her. She didn't even know me. We were in a small school, man, and
Hmm.
she was the girl, dude. I mean, she was like I'd never have a chance with her. And
I feel the same way about my current wife. See how fucking life goes? You know what I'm saying?
yeah, man, this it's just the prom queen, right? She was the balls, dude. And I was little. I was a little guy. Double backpack straps, right? I was little. Times a turn, I'm just it's a mindset thing.
Mm,
It's a mindset.
absolutely.
I don't think now that she's too good for me. It never crosses my mind. She's perfect for me. And through sobriety. Now I didn't know she was watching my stories. She was following. She'd watch it. We didn't talk, but she told me she was, and it was like, and then I had gone silent for a little while, and she was like, I wonder where he is. So she was thinking about, a lot of people watch the story and they like it. And, fast forward to today, um, the sobriety part in my life is addictive. That's addictive to a lot of different people. It's a heartwarming story. It's the comeback kid,
Yeah, everyone loves a redemption story,
and
you know,
it's
and
totally
we all have that point, whether we're dealing with addiction or, coming from a bad place, splitting up with your spouse or losing a family member. We all get knocked down at some point in our life. That is fucking life. You're going to get knocked down. You're going to, you're going to have to dig deep at some point and find out who you really are.
mm,
And sometimes it takes a little bit of work. Sometimes and it's not just over in one day. You got to come back the next day and do it all over again. You got to go get some more of that. So we all have that gene in us, that redemption gene. It's just a matter of if we can actually, you know, grasp it and utilize it to become a better person on the other side, because your story is very inspirational, and that's why I reached out to you to speak on the podcast. Thank you again for coming on.
mm.
I hope this reaches a large audience, because there are a lot of people that are struggling with not just addiction but all different types of things in our life, and
Sure.
that's, I guess, in a way it's normal, because life is difficult at times. We can't get around it, but you know, to see you and to listen to your story, I hope that inspires many people.
Yeah, it can be done. It can be done. You just got to want it. You got to stay focused. You got to find what your interest is, and then you go after that and you keep that focus. For me, it was my daughter. For me, it
Hmm.
was Summer. She was my why. She was my prize, and I kept my eye on her no matter what. I went to jail. I was thinking about Summer. I got out of jail. I was thinking about Summer. Go to pick a drink up, think about Summer. Put the drink down. She was it, and luckily I found it. I know there's not a lot of um, successful stories when it comes down to this.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm not going to bring it down. I'm not going to bring myself down. I'm a
No, no, you gotta be proud of yourself.
I am. I'm a success story, and I'm gonna live it.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, Ben. Truly appreciate it. I haven't spoken to you in about, I don't know, 30, 40 years, or what the hell it is, but it's great to hear your voice. It's great to see you doing well, and
Yeah,
I'm going to keep following you, my friend.
yeah,
Thank you
but
so much.
thank you.
And if you would like to support the podcast, please visit Amazon.com and search Conquering Hill, 50 writing prompts for a dream chaser. And also visit Etsy.com and search Conquering Hill for all our gear. Thank you.